When
Hello, Snow.
when the did you have a rat?
It's not mine. This is Hey, and welcome to another episode of Making the Right Play. I'm your host Ishi with my co-host.
Manit.
Today we're here with a phenomenally talented artist, Sansika Mahatantila. How's it going, Sansika?
Hi. I'm good. How's everybody?
Not doing too bad.
Yeah. So what have you been up to these days? Like I know we caught up recently, but I think the viewers would like to know. You're always up to something
So,
or the other. So, yeah. Go
yeah.
ahead.
So these days I've been a bit busy getting my studio up. So I started to, I've been freelancing as well. So I felt that it's better to start an actual studio and get creatives together and work together rather than freelancing because it's a bit hard to manage everything by yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been busy with these days.
Okay.
Cool.
Got you. And I think I think you have like a very interesting story, and this is because like I've grown up with you and I've known you for like literally over a decade. But I think
Mhm.
it'll be really great if like our viewers could know like your entire history all the way from like high school to like like a postgrad like your tertiary education and whatnot, and like what like a basically like a brief history of like your ambitions and whatnot across the last I don't know
Mhm.
15 years ish. Yeah.
So yeah, so in high school, I've always been like this like crazy kid that does all sorts of weird stuff. So all throughout high school, all I did pretty okay in my studies. I mean, okay, better
I'm,
than okay.
I mean, you did fine.
I was
You
pretty
did
okay.
fine. Please, like,
Yeah, yeah,
stop being too humble.
I did
But like,
okay.
you're fine. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
but more than studies, I was always doing like side projects,
Oh
like
yeah.
making some random shit, and like basically hobbies that grew into sort of this fascination and like need to do sort of like keep doing this sort of thing. So that continued on for me. So when it came to me deciding a postgraduate, post high school sort of study path, I was I was almost forced to go into like this engineering field,
Yeah.
and I was actually okay with it because I do enjoy sort of the mathematics and all that stuff. But this I knew that this was my passion and this is what I wanted to do for the long run. So no matter what my parents said, I was like, this is what I want to do, and so somehow I got there okay and continued with that. But in college, so in the first few years, we had this amazing lecturer he's an Indian person. I mean Indian, and he's really phenomenal. And right now he's working at DNEG. I mean they do a lot of visual effects, and
Yeah.
he's the trainer right now for the studio. So that quality of artist we had exposure to in the first few years, but unfortunately some issues happened and he had to leave. So I felt that like for the amount of money that I was giving this college, if he was not there, it was not worth it. So I decided to leave. And after I left, I started finding like my own place and started finding work. And yeah, I continued on in a good path.
Got you. Got you. Yeah. I think Ishar, I think you were very curious about like Santika's like a decision to kind of like drop out of school. I think we should
Yeah.
like like quiz him about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's like an interesting decision because like I feel like a lot of people that I know have like kind of weighed that decision at some point or the other. Because like
Mm-hmm.
college makes everyone feel hopeless at some point or the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess like when you made your decision, what were the factors you were weighing, and then like what made you decide that you know what, like even if like I do drop out, I like there is something that I can pursue and there is something that I can be successful at, because I think like
Mm-hmm.
you need to weigh that kind of decision pretty heavily, and you need to understand the risks and stuff that it carries, and I think you
Yeah.
did a really
Yeah,
good job
yeah,
of
yeah.
that. So yeah,
I mean, it's not for everyone. Like, unless you know exactly what you're doing, like dropping out is not a joke.
yeah,
So, as I said before, like my main cause of leaving would be that lecturer leaving. So the college that I attended was not a really established sort of huge thing, but somehow they got this amazing person to come down. And once he left, there was really no one, like not even close, that could replace him. So I, for the amount of money, like it's a significant amount of money that these places ask for.
Yeah.
So with the same amount of money, basically with the same money that I saved for the 1.5 years that I didn't go, I built this studio with like everything. Like
Yeah.
it's a full size studio. So I felt that that is a better investment, like making a gamble on myself, because I sort of knew back then what I was doing. So uh, that is probably the main, like him leaving would be the main issue.
Right.
So that made me leave. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. What's it like running a studio? I don't know what the logistics involved are.
I
But
I I don't know either. We're just, I mean, like we're still setting up. We are launching properly next year. We're trying to get the legalities and everything done.
mhm,
But hopefully it's not that complicated, because like I have like two local studios that I've been friends with. I interned in one place, and the other place also, like I've been doing, like I've been talking with them very frequently, and been hanging out with the owners. So I feel like the local sector would be mainly those two studios which I would be working with, but most of the other, like external income, would be from international clients, hopefully, because I've already had like a few good interactions with international clients, and it's much easier to deal with them there. Although the money transfers and everything is a bit hard,
yep.
it's still easier to handle them than locals. It's sad to say, but that is the truth.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And like, how is like how would you recommend like freelancing for artists in Sri Lanka in general? Like, is it a path that people should consider more often? And
uh,
like, how is the overall experience been like?
Depends on what you're doing. So
Okay.
artists, there are like various different categories when it comes to artists. So since I do like 2D and 3D, I've been able to do okay. But if it's like a 2D artist, like there is no way you can make a living or like anything, because
Okay.
there is no demand for it here. But
Okay.
like 3D stuff, there is a general demand, because somehow like the video games industry is like putting its roots down here. So like there's a huge demand for 3D work. But freelancing as a whole, it's good, but it should only be like a side gig,
Okay.
because it's really hard to make the amount of money that you need to live with that.
And
That makes sense.
I guess like the kind of like art you do, like, and like the demand for it depends on like the geography really, or and like the
Yeah.
demographics of the industry. Like I'm imagining like East Asia, right? Like Japan with the manga and anime, right? You have a huge
Hmm.
demand for 2D artists, right? And
Hmm.
then you move to North America, and then they're straying away from 2D stuff, and they're more in 3D stuff. Like I'm
Yeah.
not sure, but I just want to confirm that's
Yeah, exactly.
right. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. But yeah, I can imagine that that's like, yeah, that those are things that need to be factored in, like the demand for your kind of art style and things like that.
Hmm.
That's interesting though. Yeah, and then cool, cool. So I think me and Manith had like a little bit of time to go over your portfolio, and you're wondering if you could talk about like some of the images that you've drawn, because there's,
Yeah,
yeah, there's just this like
okay.
interesting mix of styles, and like I've barely been a student of like art history, but that seems to be like elements of futurism, hyperrealism, some sort of cubism, and all these different things, and it's just, yeah, it's just incredible. But I think the first image I want to kind of talk to you about is the skull in a rough.
Ooh, yeah. So those are like still lives
Mhm.
that I was doing. So those are basic studies that anyone needs to do. Like any artist, like you find some. You need to find some objects that you like and try to copy like the lighting and everything. So this was like really early on my digital art. So I think this was like, see, wait. I have a
Oh,
I'm
beautiful.
a
Oh
resin
wow.
sculpt.
Yeah, I'm not
So
surprised.
I just
Yeah.
I I set it up, and yeah, so started painting, and yeah, got some old books, and you just have to just copy real life sort of and make it look nice. But this was really early on, so I can see like a ton of mistakes. But yeah, this is like for that stage, I was pretty happy with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. Like I saw that that kind of stood out to me because it's like such a gothic kind of Victorian Gothic era kind of painting. Another thing that kind of dumbfounded me and Manit was this picture of a police pursuit of what I think is Voldemort.
Yeah, it looked like
Uh,
Voldemort to
Yes.
me too. Yeah. Was it Voldemort?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It is
Okay,
supposed.
okay,
I
okay.
mean,
Okay.
not really because of the copyright issues, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So uh, this was my first like involving 3D in like concept art. So this was like a really rough sketch, and I got like some models from Sketchfab and just placed them and got it to look nice.
cool,
So basically like painting over a render. So this was like a test that I did, and it came out pretty okay. So yeah.
cool. And what are you rendering with? Like, is this like a Blender kind of thing or?
Yeah, Blender. I use Blender exclusively, but since by the way, we're working on a short film, which I'm not a short film. I mean a film. A short film would be the trailer for the film.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we are working on that. So basically, Blender is what I use for like art and stuff. But I'm hoping on using Unreal for the film because it
Okay.
seems to be like really really fast. And yeah.
Got you. Got you. That
That,
makes
that,
sense.
that, that's awesome. I love that image.
Yeah,
And
yeah, we were just like we were trying to say because you never mentioned it, so like you didn't mention it, and it makes a lot of sense. But like, yeah, we were just trying to figure it out. That was cool. Like among all the other things, but yeah, like and I think the way Sansika started out was initially like he used to bring all these like he basically used to like have the same depiction of like either the Joker or like Taylor Swift, or
Yeah,
like he had like an
yes,
art
yes,
book.
yes, yes. I had like a lot of pictures that I drew, like with pencil and pen. I mean, like pencils, color pencils, and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
that was cool. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned like that you were interested in using Unreal, and you were also interested in like you basically like specialize in Blender and whatnot. And I think
mm,
a lot of people, I'm quite certain that once people kind of see this art, and like I'm pretty sure that people want to kind of put their ideas into like into this form.
mm,
But the thing is, I don't think people like it's very hard like or it's very hard to find like a centralized form of resources to kind of like go through. So like
mm.
what?
Yes, there's so much information online that it's really hard to comb through it and
Yeah,
get the right stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, like,
So,
what kind of pathway would you suggest for people like that, like to kind of like start on a design slash artist kind of journey on this dimension of things?
well, okay. So I don't know how people should do it, but this is how I did it.
Yeah, of
So
course. Yeah, yeah,
uh, okay, great.
yeah, yeah. Go
So
ahead.
basically, you find some artists that you are inspired by, or you work that you really like. So for instance, like on Instagram, let's see. Uh, on Instagram, there's this dude called Jama. So he's basically the dude who taught me all the Blender stuff.
Okay,
So he has an amazing Gumroad. I mean, he did movies for like he did a lot of movies. Like he did like most of the concept art for the Mandalorian and everything. So
okay,
you could see like he has these tutorials on Gumroad. So he's a more of a 2D guy. So even if you're proficient in pen drawing or pencil anything, it's really easy to transition from that to like 3D because like the way he teaches, he brushes off the technical stuff away so that you can just go, you want to do this, okay, this is what you want to do, okay, this is how you make it. So this is he's a really yeah. So Blender, he's the dude.
okay,
And also for film VFX filmmaking, Hubert, yeah. So this dude is like next level sort of. He does like incredible stuff.
okay,
So he has these 60-second YouTube sort of things, which like he packs so much in it. He's funny as well. So
okay.
like he packs in a lot of information. So like he packs in a lot of information that you won't necessarily get through like traditional media, like even if it's college, like they have a set of predetermined
Curriculum kind of.
coursework, so
Yeah.
it's not updated as
Yeah.
such. But these people, like they they have these like weird hacks, and like they bash like random stuff together, and they make their own workflows which are really interesting, which you can work off of. So like you should, what I would recommend is like find something you're passionate about, and then like find who's doing that, and then find out how they're doing that, and then
Yeah.
usually you could like actually contact them, like they're really like,
Open.
although you feel like these people are so busy, they must be like really uppity and all that, but they're really nice people. You can actually talk to them and ask advice. So
Okay.
yeah,
That's a nice
that's
one. Okay.
mm,
Cool, cool. It seems like you know, like the gist of it is like there's a lot of artists out there that are like, you know,
yeah,
you can be inspired by and also be like learn from,
mm,
right? Especially with the
mm,
internet making like art more accessible than ever. You know,
exactly.
you don't have to like attend some fine art school in New York to, you know, learn art anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's an awesome part of it, and I guess that kind of is a good segue for the next kind of thing I want to talk to you about, which I feel like is more of the impetus of this conversation. It feels like as an
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate result of you know, being part of brown culture, creatives are sort
Mm-hmm.
of looked down on, and that is,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a very unfair because creatives do a lot of important work for society. You know, if what really there was this quote, I don't remember the quote exactly, but you know, if not for creatives, we wouldn't be able to do all the storytelling that our generation lives through, and I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like that is such a critical part of, you know, humanity as a whole. That it's so unfair,
Mm-hmm.
you know, South Asian culture to like, or Desi culture to look down on the creative space. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
you've done a good job of like, you know, rising above that whole stigma, the negative stigma associated with that space. And I don't know if you want to talk about like what that experience has been like, or you know, what you've had to do to like, you know, rise above it, uh,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing.
Okay, so the negative stigma, there is going to be a negative stigma about anything. Like it depends on the way you handle it, basically. So there would always be like, even if you're an engineering student, there'll be some aunt and or uncle who has like a doctorate in some other thing, who would say, ah, this is not useful, this is not
Yeah.
worth doing. But if you really feel passionate about what you're doing, and this is what you want to do, like you should pursue it, because it doesn't matter like what they say. They are not you, right? They're not handling your life. Sort of like, if it's your parents, it's more of a burden, because like obviously they're paying for your studies, they're paying for you. But like random people, they're random people. I mean, it doesn't matter what they say.
It's like background noise
So
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and
background noise, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
and but in your case, like, do you think your parents were like supportive with the entire thing, or like, did
I
you
had
had
to
to do?
convince them. I mean,
Okay.
I had to convince them like, this is what I want. I mean, it took like a good like year to like
Okay.
show them that this is what I want to do. But in the end, like they were supportive, yeah, and now they are pretty happy, and yeah.
Got you. And like how were those like conversations like because I'm pretty sure like a lot of students get like placed in this like very weird position where like see like I think some people could get over that stage where like they could filter out the societal kind of the background noise, but like people who are like they have very intimate like kind of like relationships with
Mm,
like their parents, especially like if they're
mm,
funding them,
mm.
like you have to really prove
Exactly.
your case, right? Like, so how would you kind of like advise someone to conduct a conversation like that? Like, how do you kind of present the case, and and regardless of how difficult it is, like how did you kind of like get out of that situation? Even like I do understand that was convincing, but like how would you advise someone to go about a conversation like that?
Mhm. You should be like direct, right? How do you do it? So if they want something, if
Yeah.
they want you to do something, you should. I mean, ask them why you want. I mean, you want like, basically, if okay, say my father wants me to do engineering. Okay,
Yeah.
so I ask him, why do you want me to do engineering? Okay, he says, because engineering is like, it pays well, it's a really important sort of thing. I mean, everybody wants engineers, and it's a important part of our culture and structure of life, or whatever. And then like you should make a counter argument of what you want to do is equally important as that. So
Okay.
not only equally as important to you, but like important to society as well.
Okay.
Because like for me, like art, I mean, if you look at most of the tech today, like it's always going to be inspired by like some 90s book which told about this sort of thing, I, I don't like
No, no,
Arthur
yeah,
C. Clarke
yeah,
or
yeah,
yeah. So I mean, everything is interwoven together. Like you couldn't say that this is not important, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. That
So
makes a lot of sense.
you should
Yeah,
just make a logical argument. I mean, if as long as like the person you're arguing with is a logical person, but if
yeah,
it's not a logical person,
yeah, yeah,
you,
yeah,
you should try to be illogical as well and find some weird way to like handle that as well.
yeah.
I don't know.
And I guess like kind of being persistent with that argument is also important to kind of like save
Mm,
yourself from like going into something you'll be miserable in. I guess. Yeah, that makes sense.
exactly. Like if you do something that you don't want to do, like you're not gonna put your full effort into it,
Yeah,
and you probably won't end up doing like the best you could. So it's better, even if it's not as important as maybe. Okay, so doctors save lives, yes, but if you don't want to like touch blood and stuff, you're not gonna be as good a doctor as like someone who wants to do it.
yeah,
Like if you're a I don't know, like if you're a building worker who's like passionate about breaking stuff or something, I don't know how that compares. But if you are passionate about doing it,
yeah,
you probably do a better job at it than like a person who's not as
yeah.
like into it. It's important to be into what you're doing. Yeah.
And everything kind of takes care of yourself, like it did for you, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that that advice goes like just not just to creatives or artists, but to like anybody who's like
Yeah, everyone. Yeah.
transitioning out of like what we consider the norm of like engineers, doctors, and lawyers, right? Because there's a lot of people
I mean,
like
there are so many engineers, doctors, and lawyers. I'm pretty sure we are gonna run like there's gonna be so many that you like. No one's gonna have jobs. Like you should like diversify, right?
Yeah, you know what?
Because
Like the mean salaries for that kind of thing have been falling, when adjusted for inflation.
exactly,
Just
there's
because,
so many
your
people
supply
doing
is
it.
so high and your demand is, it is increasing, but not as fast as the supply because
Mm,
education is
yeah,
becoming more accessible and we have like this surplus of engineers. I mean, Manit knows this. Like he sees how competitive the tech industry is right now to get into,
yeah,
right? And that's all a part of that. Like just
yeah.
everybody being a computer science student, right?
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
yeah,
literally, like people just come into university and like the amount of people who want to shift to CS is like insane too. Like it's just, and
mm,
most of it is like herd mentality. I think like no one really knows why they're doing it. So
yeah.
yeah,
mm.
yeah,
Yeah, at Stanford we call this sellout culture, where kids come
okay,
in and they start like the first couple of weeks they're like, oh, I'm going to be a biology major, right? And then
yeah,
they go through their first summer and they like find it really hard to like secure like positions or internship positions that they want, right? And
yeah,
they just like say, you know what, if I do computer science, I'll be guaranteed 100K salary in Silicon Valley like in 3 or 4 years, right? Which is not the
Yeah.
case, which doesn't happen.
which is
People
not the
forget
case.
that.
And I think people really get miserable in CS like if they really don't want to do it, like especially in the jobs, like it's crazy, like, and the same with engineering and everything. So like I'm glad, because like for example in Sansika's case, right, like I'm because I've like studied with him too, like he's very much very capable of doing an engineering job. It's more of like he'll not have the same amount of passion, and he's probably not going to be
Yeah, I would
as,
be bored.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%, yeah. If I had this creativity that like you kind of had, I wouldn't go to engineering. But like at the same time, like I think it's a very like it's a very courageous decision, so you need to like, I think you definitely need to like own it down the line. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Even I mean, Manet was like really. I mean, he was like top 10 students, and so like I'm pretty sure like whatever he does, he could do it. But I hope that Manet also is like this is what I want to do, and it is right.
yeah. I think so, at least like for now it looks like it. But I
That's good.
think, yeah, I think I'm day in and day out, like it's very easy to like fall into like a bad pipeline. So I think I try my best to be as
Mm,
honest
mm,
as I can with
mm,
my time too. And I think doing this podcast and stuff is like part of that entire process
mm,
of like, just doing stuff you like to do. So yeah,
yeah.
mhm,
I think I fell into that trap at some point because like like I started out physics and I enjoy physics. I enjoy learning physics, but
mhm,
I realized halfway through that I don't see a future for myself in physics in the long run. So
mm.
maybe grad
Yeah.
school, I don't know, but I don't see myself employed as an academic in physics. Like no chance. Like
Mhm,
it just seems out of reach for me. So now I realize I have kind of a love and I have a knack for computer science and data science related things.
mhm,
So I'm trying to
mhm,
find ways to relate that to another love that I have, which is conservation, like wildlife conservation. So I'm trying to find ways to
Ooh, nice.
trying to find ways to put that into place.
All
It's gonna be
together.
a hard
Yeah.
journey, but yeah, it'll be worth it when you do it, because that way you have something that you're passionate about, that you're willing to like wake up every day and say like, okay, like this is what I chose for me and I'm happy with it, right?
For sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So tell me more of the wildlife conservation and physics and computer science, and how does it come together?
Yeah, so like that's an interesting question. So you wouldn't necessarily think that, maybe computer science with
Yeah.
like conservation becoming more database and things like
Mhm.
that, right? But
Mhm.
there's actually like this huge school of using statistical physics principles to
Mhm.
understand populations of like
Mhm.
just like species populations and the dynamics of species populations.
Mhm.
uh, and I don't remember the name of the scientist who like coined this like method, but uh, it's actually becoming more and more of like the go-to when it comes to like
Mhm.
assessing population dynamics. And I think that's like
Mhm.
something that I'd be really interested in, because I just finished my
Mhm.
stat mech portion of my kind of course load last quarter. So yeah, I
Mhm.
think I think I enjoyed stat mech, so maybe I can go into something in that like that. So I currently right now actually I work on a data project for the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. Ornithology being the study of birds.
But
So I'm doing similar stuff. We're looking at assessing like bird breeding behaviors and like the changes associated with breeding densities versus like climate,
mhm.
the climate, the regional climate, and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of fun stuff to do. I think there's a way to like put it all together, but it seems like it's a little bit convoluted for now. But it's coming together.
That's good.
I think with time it's inevitable that it will come together. So like, yeah, I think
I
you're
hope
heading
so.
down good,
Yeah,
nice. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm glad I chose to just like call it a day with physics at some point. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah. But cool. I think we hit on a lot of great points, and Sansika, honestly, dude, like you're a fascinating person. I really enjoyed this talk.
Same. Both of you are fascinated as well.
Yeah,
Like really.
and I mean, I don't want to say this again, but like just the talent level is off the charts here.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, it's insane,
Thank you.
right?
Thank you so much.
But yeah, well, I think we'll call it a day.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
It
Sounds good.
was it was really nice talking to you.
yeah. Thank you for coming
For
on. Thank
sure.
you for agreeing to come on to Making the Right Play, and I think this is going to be a great episode for all the viewers.
Thank you for having me.
So
Yep.
yeah,
We'll know when it's up. Yeah.
yeah, cool. Thank you to all the viewers for making it this far. If you're still watching, and yeah, have a good
Thank
day.
you.
And cut.
Have a good day. Be safe. I mean, stay safe. Don't die.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
tip. Yeah. Anyway, cool. Thank you. See you guys
Okay.
later.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Making the Right Play. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Content. This will keep you posted on new episodes, bonus content, and blooper reels. We hope you make the right play.